2026 AFL season is about to begin March 5th at 7:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time. So I'm really looking forward to this season. It's going to be an absolute cracker. And here is my non-biased opinion for this year. You'll see there's a few interesting moves that I've made in my ladder predictions, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So I'm going to predict my grand final predictions, my 18th to 1st ladder predictions as well. A couple of awards, and without further ado, let's get into the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and like the video, comment below your predictions, and let's go. So in 18th spot, I have the mighty West Coast Eagles. Now, West Coast Eagles finished the season as wooden spooners in 2025 with 1 win and a whopping 22 losses. The hilarious part was the Eagles' only win was round 10 against the Saints. Wow, that was insane, that game, and I think they won by 28 points if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so look at the young talent they have. They've got Jake Waterman, who's come back from a knee injury, and he looked very, very good against Victoria in the State of Origin. They've also got Dersma, the number 1 pick, Archer Reed, Harley Reid, Job Shanahan. I'm a big fan of his. You've also got Josh Lindsay, Ruben Gimby, Sam Allen, Finlay McRae, Champion, Edwards, Gross, just to name a few. The Eagles obviously drafted William Dersma as pick 1, Cooper Duff Tyler, Josh Lindsay, Sam Allen, and Tyler Williams. Now, hopefully I got them all correct with their pronunciations. Got in free agency and trade period Tyler Young, Finlay McRae, Devon Robertson, and Brandon Starcevich from the Brisbane Lions. And unfortunately, he did suffer a concussion in the grand final. My only concern with him is he going to be able to complete a full season? Because concussions are very, very different, and they're difficult to control. They lost their skipper Oscar Allen to the Lions and Liam Ryan to the Saints. The Eagles will win a few more games than last year. I expect them to win at least 4 games this season rather than 1. So hopefully they can do a little bit better this year. I got Liam Baker to shine. Now, the Eagles did have injuries last year, and most of their players were down in form as well as last year. So, I mean, it wouldn't have helped going to work every single day knowing you're going to get hammered most weeks. So that probably didn't give them exactly enough motivation. But that's still no excuse. Their skill levels were deplorable last year, but they will improve and give them time. Liam Baker to shine again off half-back. Harley Reid, if he doesn't too much, taking on the tackler and trying to do some of these fancy stuff that he tries to do, he'll bounce back and average 17 disposals as a mid, I reckon. Jake Waterman looks good to go, and I reckon he will kick 45 goals this season. Now, he did kick 54 in 2024, if I'm not mistaken. And Ruben Gimby will be probably one of the best key defenders in the league in the next 5 years, maybe even 3 years. So, depends on how West Coast go, and he could make All-Australian, depending on how West Coast go this year. Now, in 17th spot, and I'm also just looking forward to seeing how the Eagles play this year. I reckon they'll be a little bit more competitive than they were last season. Now, in 17th spot, I have the Richmond Tigers. Now, they finished 17th last year with 5 wins and 18 losses. They were quite competitive. They did get blown out often, but in the first halves, usually they were pretty good, and they just didn't take their opportunities in front of goal, which did cost them a few games. I think there was a North Melbourne game they lost by 1 point at the MCG. They should have won that game. Yeah, I mean, Richmond, their rebuild's up and away, and I reckon they won't be too far away from a finals appearance in the next 5 years, I reckon. So they've got young stars in Lawler, Houghton, Mansell, Banks, Fall, Trainer, Ralph Smith, Smiley, Rioli, Gibscus, Cumming, Brown, and Sims. they're just examples that are looking forward to seeing. They do have some older to mid-experienced players that will be handy to guide the younger generation to come for the Tigers. Now in trade period, they did pick up Patrick Retchenko. I definitely butchered that name, but he came from Geelong and he was a lifeline Tigers supporter, so he will be very handy for the Richmond Footy Club. They also traded Tyler Young to the West Coast Eagles, and give these players at least 3 to 5 years. Exciting times ahead for the Richmond Football Club. Now in 16th spot, I have the never-ending rebuild North Melbourne Kangaroos. Now I think this is their 10th season of rebuilding, which is insane. Normally teams would be making finals appearances in the 10th season of their rebuild. So it's, not great. Their new skipper in Nick Larkey, and he is fully healthy. So good to see. The Kangaroos did draft Lockie Doveston, Blake Thurgold, and Hugo McUnder, with also picking up Charlie Spargo as a free agent. I'm not sure why they decided to get Charlie Spargo, but maybe they need some extra backup just in case for Paul Curtis. Look at these young players. They've got Harry Sheasel, George Warlord. If he changes the way he plays a little bit and doesn't go head in first to the ball, he will be very, very handy and massive boost for North Melbourne. Now they also have Finn O'Sullivan, who had a decent year. Zane Dersma, he didn't have the greatest year, but he'll bounce back. Coley McKercher, he is very, very good. You also have Riley Hardiman, Will Dawson, who's a 200-centimetre ruckman. He will be handy as for them. Tom Powell, Taylor Gold, and Paul Curtis. Now, Charlie Compton, Josh Gota, just to name a few as well. Now, player under a little bit of pressure, in my opinion, and he's in his last year in his contract. That's Braden George. Now, he's been on the list for about 3 years, and he just can't get his body right. So I'm hoping he can ride his luck and play a full season this year. Let's hope so. Now, the expectation is to be competitive against the top teams and full throttle against the weaker sides around them, or even give mid-teams some help. Clarkson will be under scrutiny the whole year, I reckon, especially if North get hammered every single week. Nick Larkey, in my opinion, I reckon he's going to have a big year, big captaincy year, and he's going to kick 60 goals, in my opinion. And you have Paul Curtis as his sidekick to kick 35 plus goals as a small forward. I expect them to win at least 7 to 8 games this year. Now let's talk about the Melbourne Demons in 15th place. Last season they won 7 games and lost 16 games. They did get rid of Petrarca, Oliver, which are massive, massive outs and are legends of the club. They did also get rid of Charlie Spargo to free agency, and also trade period Judd McVie, who was a promising young defender who's gone to Fremantle. However, they did draft Xavier Taylor, Latrell Pickett, and Thomas Matthews. The D's also picked up Changoth Jaya, CJ, as he's known, Brody Myercheck, which is a massive, and they also got Max Heath and Saints skipper Jack Steele, which will be an interesting midfield mix for them, that is for sure. Now, Melbourne are in rebuild mode. They have plenty of young talent, and they will definitely be exposing them this year. I can't see them winning more than 9 games this year, but that is my prediction. However, better watch out, as they still have one of the best rucks in the game, really, if not all time, in Max Gawn. He's a great ruckman. It's going to be interesting to see how he adapts to the new ruck rules. I don't like it personally, the ruck rules, but I mean, if Max Gawn can, anyone can, really. So it's going to be interesting to see this new era of footy being played. Now, the players I'm looking forward to seeing is Harvey Langford, Jacob Van Rooyen, Caleb Windsor, Colton Tholshop, Cozzy Pickett, and even Max Heath, to see how he goes under Max Gawn. Now, they won't be as bad as what everyone's expected them to be, but my predictions is they'll win 8 games this season, and that'll be against Richmond Eagles, and they'll surprise a couple teams higher on the ladder. Now in 14th spot, I have the Essendon Bombers. Now they did have the worst injury list since West Coast Eagles in 2021. They had a solid 18 players. They could have fielded another team that were injured. So that was just crazy. Now, this will be a revenge season, that is for sure for them. They also have a new captain in Andy McGrath. Maybe one day they could win a final, if not a grand final with him. Maybe. We'll see what happens. Now, I do have question marks over him, but that's probably why I'm a YouTuber and not a AFL list manager. Last year, they won 6 games and lost 17 games. Yeah, so they did lose Sam Draper. Now, that is a big loss due to having him develop him, and now they have to develop another ruckman after they delisted Bombers great Todd Goldstein. And, he did really, really well last year. At age 37, he was competing with players 15 years his age, which is insane. Now, the players they did bring in is Braden Fiorini from the Suns, and he is a very handy player. Now, he just squeezed out of the Suns lineup, so so that's probably why he left. Now, they also did draft Sylvian Roby, Jacob Farrow, Dyson Sharp, Max Kondoyanis. That's a very interesting Greek name. They also drafted Hassan Al-Achbar. Now, how will Zach Merritt go this season? In my opinion, he'll be one of the top players in the league, and he will average 20 to 30 touches this year. Now, that is my opinion, and he will lead Essendon to the close games that they should win. He's won how many best and fairest now? Like 4, 5, 6? Honestly, I've lost count now, but he's a really, really good player, and he's going to be massive. Another player I'm looking forward to seeing is Darcy Parish. Now, he looked pretty good on the weekend, so... not on the weekend, in the midweek. I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes this year. He's had, 2-3 years out with injury, so I'm hoping he does well. You've also got Jaya Caldwell, Will Setterfield in their midfield with Braden Farini. In their forward line, though, look at this. They have Isaac Kako, Peter Wright, Kyle Langford when fit, Nate Caddy, Liam McMahon, Matt Guelphy, and you can even put in Angus Clark, who kicked 3 goals on debut as a forward in pouring rain. That was insane. Now, he is a defender, but he will be a great swing man to have. Now, Brad Scott will be under a lot of pressure this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets sacked, depending on how Essendon go this year. In the 13th spot, I have the Carlton Blues. Now, they finished 11th last year with 9 wins and 14 losses. Charlie Curnow, Jack Silvani, Tom DeConing, and you can even add Corey Durden. So they will be rebuilding, and there's some exciting stars back in form from last year. You've also got Sam Walsh coming back from a back injury, and he's just re-signed for another 6 years. He's going to be a massive, massive player for them, and he did really well against my beloved Cats. Can't even forget Jagger Smith. He hasn't even played a game yet. 37 disposals coming back from an ACL. That is insane. Carlton have beaten the 2 grand finalists from last year. They won't be down for too long, I don't reckon. They've also got Ollie Florent, Ben Ainsworth, Will Hayward, Liam Reddy, and Campbell Chester to come back into their best 23 after being in the trade period. The Carlton Blues, obviously they would have liked to keep those 4 players that they got rid of, but at the same time they're pretty handy replacements, and they will surprise a lot of people this year and win a few games that they shouldn't win, and they'll lose a few games they should win, in my opinion. Now, they will win at least 9 games this year, and they did draft Harry Dean, who was a father-son, Taylor Byrne, and Jack Eisen from their academy players they did draft. Yeah, so they'll be giving strong clubs for their money this year, and they'll probably get a couple of big scalps. I reckon they'll beat my beloved Cats, unfortunately. That's what I reckon. They already did in the pre-season. Nobody really takes pracky games that seriously. It's all about, trying out different things. Now, Paddy Cripps will be very, very good this year, I reckon. Will Hayward will have an outstanding year, hopefully. And Jagger Smith who could be a rising star smoky. Carlton don't do too well this year. Like, they'll lose a lot of games that they should win. Michael Voss will be sacked, in my opinion. Now, this will surprise a lot of people. I put Port Adelaide Power in 12th spot. Now, they were disappointing last year. They finished 13th with 9 wins and 14 losses and a horrible 79.8% with their percentage. That was insane. Under a new coach this year, Josh Carr, Port Adelaide won't be as bad as what people are expecting, but they'll be a mid-tier team this year. They won't be bad, but they won't be great either. They did lose Travis Boak and Willie Rioli Jr. to retirement, but they didn't trade anyone out. They also gained in free agency and trade period Jacob Ware, Corey Durden, and even Will Brodie. I don't know if any of them will really play much this year in Port Adelaide, but we shall see. Now, they are good enough to compete for a top 8 spot if their big stars play really well and their role players play their role perfectly. Got rid of Ken Hinkley. It's a fresh voice, fresh ideas, and I reckon Port will win 10 games and be in the top 8 for a few rounds, but then lose a few winnable games and lose a few points to the teams around them. In 11th spot, just missing out on the wild card round, I have GWS Giants. Now, the big reason why, because they don't have Tom Green, who's suspected done an ACL and will be out for pretty much the whole year, if not full year. So that is a huge loss. He is a big-bodied midfielder and he is an absolute gun. Now, last year they finished 5th on the ladder with a solid 16 wins and 7 losses. Now, they have the talent to make finals again, but I just can't really see them. I can see them just missing out, and the way their form is, especially in those big games. The Giants lost Jacob Ware to Port, and they also had 2 retirements in Keith, and GWS great Cullen Ward, which is a huge loss for them, but hopefully he's a coach. I haven't really heard much about him, but hopefully he is a coach for GWS. Now, they did draft Oscar Taylor, Finnegan Davis, and a young spring chicken, 31-year-old Jake Stringer. Now, it's going to be a big year for their forwards. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they go, but I think they'll just miss out. They will win a solid, I reckon, maybe 11 games, in my opinion. In 10th spot, I have making the wild card round, which I absolutely hate. Hawthorn Hawks. Now, I dislike the Hawks, but I hate the wild card round. Why not just make the top 8? Anyways, last year they finished with 15 wins and 8 losses, made it all the way to the prelim, and were 31 points away from making a grand final. The reason why I said 31 points is because Geelong won by 5 goals at 30 points. Anyways, this is about Hawthorn, not the Cats. Now, I do have questions over Hawthorn. They didn't get Zach Merritt or recruit anyone back into their footy club. Will Day can't stay healthy. That's another reason why I put them at 10th spot. Now, if Will Day was healthy, they could definitely make top 8, if not maybe even top 4. But they also needed to get Zach Merritt massively, and they couldn't get it done. So that's another reason why they didn't get really any better. We'll see what happens. The Hawks did draft Cameron Nunn, Aiden Schubert, Jack Dalton, and Matthew Leray. Now, can Jack Gunston repeat his form from last year? He ended up kicking over 40 plus goals, or close to it. It was 47 goals he kicked last year, which is insane. As a 35-year-old, which is insane. Also, you have Marbio Chol, Nick Watson, Connor McDonald, Dylan Moore, Jack Ginnivan. Now, can they help Kashir Deer in the forward line this year? If yes, then that's a team that is going to be a scary team to watch for this year. My predictions is they'll win 12 games this year, and they'll lose a couple of games due to bad kicking. Now, in 9th spot, making the wild card round, I have the St Kilda Saints. They're going to be an interesting team to watch this year after recruiting some pretty good players. Now, I'm going to be honest, they overpaid these players massively. Tom De Koning, 1.7, 1.8 million. He is at least worth 900k, not 1.7 million. That's insane. That's just mind-boggling to me. And they've also paid Zaya Wanganeen Miller $2 million. 1.5 probably max, I'd say. Unbelievable player. He can change the game, but if you want to be a serious football club, you can't overpay these players. So in 2 players, they've paid $3.7 million to 2 players. Insane. Now they did trade their skipper in Jack Steele and Max Heath, who is a emerging young ruckman, to the D's, which was a shock, but the Saints also did get Jack Silvani, Sam Flanders, and Liam Ryan from their trade period and free agency, which is insane. Now the Saints drafted Charlie Banfield as a father of son. Now they drafted also Kai Fincher from the academy, and also got Ryan Burns from their affiliated VFL Sandringham side. Massive bonus keeping Rowan Marshall. Now, as a Cats fan, I'm salty about that. It's going to be interesting to see how it works between Tom De Koning and Rowan Marshall. Obviously, one's got to go forward, the other one's got to be in the ruck, and they're just going to rotate. I feel like Rowan Marshall would be better off as a defender, in my opinion. Get him there, learn his craft as a defender. That's in my opinion, because they've also got to get Max King right, and he could explode and dominate the packs and kick goals. Now, he can never stay healthy. That is the only question, and I've always said they should have traded him when he had value, because he's just never healthy. But if he is healthy and kicks 50 plus goals, St Kilda could be a top 4, if not a top 2 side in the competition. Now, that is a far-stretched thing to say, but you've also got Jack Higgins, so many other players. So yeah, and their forward line is pretty handy as well. In 8 spot, controversially, I have the Adelaide Crows. Now last year they finished as minor premiers with 18 wins, 5 losses, and they were out in straight sets and had 2 disappointing losses to the Pies and Hawks at their home deck Adelaide Oval in September. Now, they didn't trade out any players. They only got rid of mediocre players that were delisted, and they did trade in Finbar Marley from North Melbourne. Now, he did play a handful of games for North and didn't look too bad, so we'll see what happens there. Now, teams have worked him out, so that's why I am a bit concerned. They also don't have Mark Keane, who has an injury a little bit. Their defender is out, so that is a massive worry. Jordan Dawson is a great player, but I just don't think he's a great leader, in my opinion. They just didn't really turn up at all, and he also had a very disappointing finals campaign as well. Now, the Crows did draft Mitchell Marsh, now not the cricketer, the footy player, and Archie Ludwig as well. The Adelaide Crows will win 13 games and have a higher percentage than the St Kilda Saints. Riley Thilthorpe will kick 55 plus goals and will stay healthy. In 7th spot, I have the Collingwood Magpies. Now, last year they made it to the prelim and lost to the eventual winning Brisbane Lions team. Now, the Magpies won a solid 16 games last year. And what does Nick Dacos have to do to win a Brownlow medal? Have them 7th spot due to the older players, and there's quite a few key players that just can't stay on the field at all. They do have a few talented youngsters, but not enough to contend for the next decade, in my opinion. They've got at least 2 years before you expect to see some big changes coming up. Now, Scott Pendlebury will play 430 plus games and be the all-time leading games holder. Now, Collingwood did lose Brody Myercheck, which is a massive loss to their forward line, but they did get Jack Buller in the trade period, and he's going to be Collingwood's full forward for the next 10 plus years. If he can stay healthy and fit, which hopefully he does, the pressure will be on Jamie Elliott if he can stay healthy and kick plenty of goals. He's got to kick at least 40 goals this year, in my opinion, if the Pies want to make finals. Alright, now the 6th spot, I have my beloved Geelong Cats. Now, I could go on for hours for this team, but I'll try and keep it short. My Cats finished with 17 wins and 6 losses in the season, and became runners-up, unfortunately, in the grand final. They got hammered in the second half. They just weren't on at all, and Brisbane were just too good, and they shut Geelong down completely, unfortunately. However, it's a new season, and they were very disappointing in the trade period also. We missed out on Charlie Curnow, and we even missed out on Rowan Marshall, which those 2 players could have been handy. and would have pushed us up to the top 4. But I just have us sitting 6, and there are 5 better teams and better talent than us at the moment. Now the Cats, will they fall off the cliff? Eventually we will, but I can't see it in the next 5-10 years, in my opinion. I am very biased though, and I'm always going to stick by my side no matter what. Now, our ruckman will be exposed this year, with Reece Stanley probably being rested for quite a few games as he is getting, with age. I think he's going to be 35, 36 this year, which is insane. We've also recruited James Warple from Hawthorn and traded Patrick Rechenko to Richmond. The Cats drafted Hunter Holmes and Harley Barker, which will take time to develop, and they'll probably be in our best 23 in the next 2-3 years to come. The Cats have plenty of young talent coming through, and will be a fast-running team for years to come. So I'm looking forward to seeing how we go this year. I will be vlogging a lot of Cats games and hopefully going to more than 2 Cats games this year. That is definitely going to be happening. I can see the Cats winning 14 games, and we'll win a couple of games we shouldn't win, and we'll lose a couple of games that we should win. And hopefully that's not the case, but hey, go Cats. I have my Cats in 6th spot. In 5th spot, I have the Western Bulldogs. Now, how they finished 9th with that much talent, I don't know, to be honest. It annoyed me. And I'm not even a Bulldogs fan, I'm a Cats fan. Yeah, they won 14 games last year, and that's a mystery to me. To be honest, they should have won more. They have so much talent in that team, they just didn't click in that final game against Fremantle, and Fremantle just dominated them. This season, I have them winning 15 games. Bont will be close to the Brownlow, but he'll probably be robbed again somehow. Their forwards will be a threat with Sam Darcy, Aaron Norton, Cody Waitman finally back, and you even got Riley West in the forward line as well. They'll be an easy team to score against. However, they do kick high scores and had 2,493 points for them last season. Watch out for the doggies. Now, here is my top 4. Now, we have the mighty Fremantle Dockers. They won 16 games and lost 7 games last year, and they finished 6th on the ladder. They lost to the Suns in the Suns' first ever finals game, and they won, which was unbelievable. It was an intense game. It's disappointing for the Dockers. Now, they've been in the finals for a few years now. They come in and they go out. They come in and go out. So they really need a big, big year, especially from their big stars. And in my opinion, they'll go deep in September this year, making the top 4. They've a lot of young talent, but they just need to step up massively again this year. You've also got Clark. You got McVeigh in the back line. And you got even Hayden Young. He didn't play really much last year. So he's back and firing, and wow, look out for the Dockers in 2026. Now, they just need to develop a 200-plus centimetre key forward who can bring the ball to ground and compete in the air. You've also got the Smalls, Dudley, Bolton, Reed, and Voss. So they're going to be very handy this year. Now, the Dockers did recruit Judd McVeigh, who is a very solid emerging defender. The Dockers did lose Liam Reedy to the Blues for the ruckman, and also Will Brodie to Port Adelaide. Those 2 players weren't in their best 23, not even probably best 25. Now, they did draft 2 players, Adam Swede and Tobin Murray from Geelong. Now, they did lose 2 very key, important players in their whole existence. Nat Fife, who's a legend of the club, Michael Sonny Walters, and yes, they didn't play much last year, but they've done so much for this footy club. If the Dockers can figure out the ruck duo between Sean Darcy and Luke Jackson, whilst their forward line bringing ball to ground more often while kicking more goals and scoring more points, they're going to be very, very hard to beat this year. That is 100% a possibility. Premiership threat, maybe. We'll see what happens, but they'll win at least 15 games this year. Now let's go to the 3rd spot, in my opinion. I have the Gold Coast Suns. They won 15 games last year and lost 8 games. They finally beat the Dockers in a finals game, and they lost to the Lions in their first ever Q-Clash finals, semi-finals. David Swallow has been a legend for the club. and he's been the first player to ever to play 250 games for the entire club. And can you believe it? He kicked the winning goal against Fremantle. You couldn't write it any better than that. He had a great career at the Suns. Christian Petrarca and Jamara Ugahagen, they brought into the club. Now, they did get rid of a few players. Now, Suns did lose Sam Flanders, Malcolm Roses Jr., Braden Frioni, Ben Ainsworth, and Connor Butterick, which are huge losses considering they're pretty much all in their best 23. But I do have faith for this footy club, Gold Coast Suns, moving forward. They did bring quite a few players into their club academy picks, 5 to be exact. Hewland, Patterson, Murray, Addisel, Coulson, but they also drafted Avery Thomas from Tassie. I have high hopes for this footy club, and look at this forward line. Ready? Ben King, Bailey Humphreys, Ben Long, Jed Walter, Christian Petrarca, and Jamara Ugahagen. If that is not a great forward line, I don't know what is. So I expect them to win at least 16 to 17 games, but I'm going to say 16 games. Now in second spot, we have some random team that has won 5 flags. 2001, 2002, 2003, 2024, 2025. That's 5 flags in the Brisbane Lions, and they're looking to complete another 3-peat to go the first team ever to do that, which is insane. I mean, the mighty Brisbane Lions, they're just going to win at least another. In my opinion, for the next decade, they're going to win another 4 to 5 flags. You just can't stop them. It's just not fair for the league. That is for sure. But yeah, I don't really need to say too much. They'll have 7 players in the All-Australian squad this year and potentially go all the way again. Yeah, they also got Sam Draper and Oscar Allen, and the scary part is they've got more players to come back from injury. The only players they lost is Callum Archie and Brendan Starcevic. Brendan Archie has been a very, very handy player for Brisbane, and Brendan Starcevic has been handy as well, but he's dealing with concussion issues. So it's probably not a big loss in my opinion. But they also did get rid of their, they retired their ruckman, Oscar McInerney. He got his elusive flag and has retired on a winning note. I've got them winning at least 16 games. They've drafted 2 more academy players, Annabelle and Evans. They've also drafted Curtin from WA, who's also Curtin's brother from Adelaide. And they've also got Hayes as well. They're going to be very, very hard to stop. Now in first spot, the minor premiers for 2026 are the Sydney Swans. Cheer, cheer, the red and the white. Honour the name by day and by night. There's potentially they could go all the way this year. Now they finally got a key forward, Charlie Curnow. That's a massive boost for their flag contentions. Look at these players that are going to deliver the ball inside forward 50 to Charlie Curnow, Chad Warner, Isaac Heaney, Brodie Grundy, Errol Goulden, Nick Blakey. You've even got James Rowbottom. They're pretty handy players, hey? Now, the Swans finished with 12 wins and 11 losses last year. They were very disappointing after their very disappointing grand final exit. Grand final performance in 2024. They were very disappointing in the first half of last year, but they were one of the best teams in the second half of the year in 2025. They did get rid of Ollie Forrent, Will Hayward, Jack Buller, get Charlie Curnow, Jai Sarong, Malcolm Roses Jr. Now, the Swans also drafted 2 academy players in Kyle and King, and believe it or not, that's Max King they drafted, who is an 18-year-old now. That's just insane. What a coincidence. Which King will be better? We'll find out in 10 years' time, that is for sure. They also drafted Kuti and Philippou, which is obviously Mateus Philippou's brother. I got high hopes for this team. That's my honest opinion of the AFL Ladder Predictions. Let's go through my Brownlow, my Coleman Medal, my Rising Star, and teams to watch and even Grand Final predictions. In my Brownlow, I've gone a bit left field. I've got Caleb Sarong winning the Brownlow this year. Coleman Medalist, I have Charlie Curnow, 81 goals in my opinion. Am I giving too much hope for the Swans? Probably, but in my opinion, I've got the Swans in first place, Dylan Patterson for the Rising Star, and runner-up I have Jagger Smith. The surprising All-Australian player is Archie Roberts. Probably not that surprising, but I've got him making it. Team to watch this year is obviously Richmond, Essendon, West Coast, and North Melbourne. And my 2 grand finalists I have is Sydney Swans versus the Brisbane Lions. And it's the Brisbane Lions losing to the Swans by a goal. Now I've got the Sydney Swans winning the flag. In my opinion, yeah, that's going to be very interesting. And I've also got my Cats, I think, losing in the first round, unfortunately. So, in the elimination final. Yeah, they're my predictions. They are obviously very unbiased. Because if I could just go, top minor premier, Geelong, Bailey Smith, Brownlow, Shannon Neal, Coleman medalist, and so on and so on. I could have done that, but no. That's just my honest opinion, and I've given my thoughts. It's a very long video. I appreciate everyone for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.